Hello everyone and welcome to the chat. Oops, I hit my microphone. Hi Christian. Hi from Canada. Very nice to have you on the chat. How's your day been? Not too bad. Moira O'Brien, nice to meet you. Hi Kevin. So I was just thinking if, well, first of all, if you can hear me, please let me know. If you don't hear me, then I won't get a response back, but you should be able to hear me. Hello Susan. So can you guys hear me? Sound is good. Fantastic. Okay. Hopefully the stream runs okay today, because last time it was a bit of a disaster and we had to close down the stream and reopen it again. Good, great. So this is just an open stream, so you can ask me any questions that you want and I'll try and answer them. But the main topic I want to talk about today is, as you can see probably on the screen, is the Labour Party leadership election. So unless you don't have any questions, I'm just going to have a bit of a talk about that. So we have here Wikipedia. Hopefully I can scroll down. No. One moment. I keep having problems with... Let's see if I can move down. No. Okay. Well, last week on the last stream we were talking about Clive Lewis. So he seems to be... Sean says, how did they get the figs in the fig rolls? Well, I can't tell you that, because if I told you that, then I'd give away the secret. I have been informed how they do it, but you know, they pay me very well to keep my mouth shut, so I don't. I'm sorry, Sean, I can't help you out there. I do hope that the Labour Party isn't regaining by Tony Blair, Max. I don't want to be politically homeless once again. So what do you guys think about someone like Tony Blair leading the Labour Party? Not Tony Blair himself, but somebody of his style or of his political persuasion. I'm dreading the fact that we have Nasty in power for 5 years. David Lammy for me. I like Steamer. I prefer the mystery anyway. Yeah, with a fig inserter. Okay. There's something on the wing. Why did you have to ruin the surprise or the mystery? So guys, you know this. So I uploaded a video today. I don't know if you guys had seen it. It was about David Lammy, and a lot of the comments were coming back. Well, it's not a lot. Some of the comments came back with saying that he is not a good candidate, that he hasn't done anything for Tottenham. So one of the viewers was from Tottenham, and David Lammy's from Tottenham, so he hasn't been doing anything for Tottenham. So I don't know. What do you know about David Lammy? I'm not very familiar with him. David Miliband? I think bringing back old faces probably isn't the way forward, even if they are good. So, you know, the same with Tony Blair. Even if Tony Blair could win again, I doubt he could, but even if he could, I don't think it'd be a good idea bringing him back. It doesn't matter who is, as long as they can regain both centre ground votes and plus get Labour over the line. Where am I from? Dajado Rango. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name too badly. No, I'm from Ireland, but I live in Italy at the moment. I have a headpiece in my ear and it's distracting me. Kerstammer for me, he is charismatic and a good speaker. You go into the election with the electorate you have. Yeah, Rumsfeld. What about Emily Thornberry? What do you guys think of Emily Thornberry? Sorry. Mainstream socialism has died a death throughout Europe in pretty much every election. Centre ground somehow needs grabbing. It is radical centre ground possible? Is a radical centre ground possible? That's an interesting question, Susan. Because normally the centre is not radical by definition. It's, moderate. Could you have a radical centre? I think you could. Perhaps you could. Maybe it's difficult to envisage, but I think it is possible. You could say we reject left wing or we reject right wing politics. Would love to have seen Skinner at the helm. Skinner was a firebrand, yes. He lost his seat, unfortunately. I think he had held the seat for something like 50 years, and then he lost his seat. That was terrible. Whether you agree with someone, I think, or not, it's passion that is very important. On this issue, I wish I wasn't biased, but I am. I will vote for whoever Jeremy Corbyn endorses. I understand this may be stupid, but I have a deep amount of respect for Mr. Corbyn. So, Cypher Gaming, can you go into a bit more detail about that? Why do you think someone that Jeremy Corbyn endorses would be a good idea? And what do you like about Jeremy Corbyn? So let's put aside the policies for a moment and tell me, what about him do you like? The centre is firmly in the right wing of our politics. I think at the moment Boris Johnson is attempting to bring the Conservatives to the hard right. So anything left of Boris Johnson you could call the centre. Left centre mustn't give up socialist principles. Not another Blaine, never. Okay. Vlad, you're not a bot, I hope. Sanders 2020. Well, if you're a bot and you said Sanders 2020, then you're welcome here. What do you think? What about Bernie Sanders? Do you guys, just to go off topic for a moment, do you think Bernie Sanders has a chance of winning in 2020 or even winning the nomination? See if I can open this other. Just a fan of Sanders, that's good. Jeremy Corbyn, who lost to Theresa May and then gave Boris Johnson a massive majority, great leadership. Well, I think if you're familiar with this channel, you know that I like Jeremy Corbyn as a person, but I think he's a bad politician. He's not a good leader. He wasn't good at motivating people and convincing people to vote for him. The American left don't know how to handle Donald Trump. Yeah, well, what do you guys think of this impeachment? Do you think it will help Trump? Do you think it will inhibit Trump? I think it's going to help Trump. If we look at the past where Bill Clinton, his approval rating went up when he got impeached, and I think the impeachment, I was going to say Boris Johnson, what Donald Trump has been impeached on. Hi Max, did you get a chance to look at the video where they were discussing racism in the highest levels of British politics? No, I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to see that. I'm sorry if I didn't see your comment in the videos. On the videos, I get a lot of comments and I don't get a chance to read all of them. And today I wasn't at the computer today. I just uploaded some videos last night, but I wasn't really at home today, so I didn't get a chance to read many comments. So about Donald Trump. So I think the impeachment process could actually help him, because what is he being impeached for? So he's abusing his power. He was attempting to invite a foreign country to influence the election. But his response was, well, I was doing it to stop corruption, and the corruption was connected with Joe Biden, who's running against me. So, well, I don't believe one word of it. A lot of people do, and a lot of his supporters do. And, if he is able to convince a lot of them to come out and vote, and the Democrats put up a weak candidate, I don't think Bernie Sanders would be a weak candidate. I think he would be probably the only person who could defeat Trump. But if they put up Joe Biden, for example, it would be a disaster, because Trump would say, look, I'm fighting against corruption. Joe Biden represents corruption. The only one who can beat Trump is Bernie Sanders. Bashiro. Hello, Bashiro again. Trump will use the publicity of the impeachment, of course. He certainly got the Republican support. Corbyn generally wants a better society, in my opinion. This is a battle for the soul of the Labour Party. I think Jeremy Corbyn is, his heart is in the right place, but I think and if you've been watching my videos, I think he should have stepped back some time ago and allowed for a government of national unity to take Brexit off the table, and then he could ride in after and win the election and become, the leader of the country. God forgive me, but look at Trump's age and the state of his health. He's gone really off the deep end, mentally. And at the last rally, I was watching his face, and his face was purple. If you look at in the last rally, I think it was in Nevada, I don't remember, don't quote me on that, but in the last rally that took place, look at his face and compare it to the people behind him. Okay, I know that he's shouting and ranting, and of course when you do that for a while, your face will get red, but his face wasn't red, it was purple. He didn't look well at all, and he's definitely he's definitely showing signs of decline mentally and physically, I think. Bro, I like your streams. Keep them up. Good. Thanks a lot, Bashiro. Bashiro, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. You've been on a few streams, so the repulsive things that support Trump in the US and his mini-me on the the idiot aisle aren't susceptible to rational analysis. There's no rational, and there is no regard to facts. Okay, Rick, catch you again. Have a nice evening. If he steps back from the Blairites, we'll pounce and regain control of the Labour Party. I watch all your videos, Max. I don't agree with everything you say, but because I have pro-Corbyn bias, so that's okay. We can agree to disagree on certain things. As I've said, it's about Corbyn. The main things I disagree with him is probably on his leadership and Brexit, of course. But on his policies, I think a lot of his policies were really good, and I think if maybe it was a different leader, they would have been able to implement them. He's almost the same size as that blimp that used to protest against his visit in the UK. That's it. That's right, Trump. That's right, Paul, about Trump. The elephant in the room is the rise of English working class fascism. This is what the election was really about. The English working class has moved to the right. Lenny Harry. I don't know if that's true, Lenny. I think a lot of the people had bought into this idea of getting Brexit done, and it had dragged on for so long. So you have to look at what people... I don't think people really voted for fascism. They voted for this idea of getting Brexit done. In their eyes, it had been going on for like 3 years, and it was tired. They were tired of it. They were tired of watching it on TV, hearing about it every day day in, day in, day out. And for me, it's like I'm a political junkie, so I loved Brexit. Not, I loved the idea or the political intrigue around Brexit. I didn't love Brexit. Okay, I'm not a secret Brexiter. I found it fascinating, but for most people, it was a pain in the ass. And someone came along and said, "Look, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to get it done," which is an unusual, type of language he was using, because he had continually been telling people Brexit is great, and then he said, "We'll get it done." It's like, I have a rotten tooth. I'm going to go to the dentist and get it done. It's not exactly awe-inspiring or motivating. It's not, it doesn't sound like something you would love to have. So he was able to sell that to the people, of course. And I think for the working class people, they jumped on board with getting Brexit done. But I'm not completely dismissing what you're saying about them moving to the right and embracing fascism. But I don't buy it completely. But you may turn out to be right and I may turn out to be wrong. I agree with, excuse me, I agree with Lenny Harry. The English working class has moved to the right. Labour needs to get closer to them at the moment. Why do you think left or right when we live at least in a three-dimensional world? Maybe that's the issue in itself. Yeah, I think we need to think Killer White Rabbit is a fantastic name. Monty Python, or is that a reference to Monty Python? Yeah, we need to think outside the box. I said in one of my videos, people are no longer accepting labels like left, right, or center. We all have different beliefs. We all have some, beliefs that maybe are on the right or on the left or in the center, but we don't regard ourselves as left-wing or right-wing. Greta reforming prime ministers have been all centrists. Gladstone, exquisite at Blair. I'm not sure what you're on about there, Gary, but okay. The Democrats have to stop trying to shame Trump. It will never. Yes, there's something on the wing. I agree with that. This idea of shaming Trump is not going to win. You need to present policies that people will vote for. This "we're not Trump," this idea of running on the policy of "we're not Trump," isn't going to win you elections. Hillary Clinton tried it back in 2016, and we saw how that worked out. Of course, that wasn't her main policy, but part of her policy was, "I'm not Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a bad guy. Don't vote for Donald Trump." This backfired, of course. She should have said what she was, not what she isn't. Rebecca's good. Did you see how she did the leadership debate in the election? No, I didn't see was there an election debate? I don't believe I missed that. Boris would say it's done. More people won't know the difference. Most people won't know the difference, yes. Policy no longer wins elections, it's emotion. I would hope that policy would win elections, but maybe you're right. Policy, it's emotions. People, well, if we look at Brexit, people voted emotionally. If you look at Donald Trump, people voted emotionally. But I think also maybe people will vote for Bernie Sanders emotionally. Let's say, I like Bernie Sanders. I like that guy. I think probably people like myself, and I don't know about you, I don't want to pass judgment, but I'm so much of a political junkie that I look at the policy, but I don't look at the people. And probably I'm wrong in that aspect because the voters look at the people. They don't really look at policy. So HH, you're probably right that it's the feelings people have. It's not the policies. But in reality, they should be looking at policies because it's the policies that will influence and impact their lives, not the actual people themselves. Think about lowering of the average human attention span these days. Thanks to social media, people turn off after 3 words. Yeah, get Brexit done. Okay, that's all I need to hear. She was covering for Corbyn in one of the election debates. Damn it, I didn't see that, Bashira. I don't know how I didn't see that. If you have a video, maybe I don't know if you can put it here in the I'm not going to ask you to go and do some legwork for me, but maybe I'll have a look myself later to see if I can see the video where she stood in for Corbyn. People vote on sentiment, not on sense. Yes, I agree, Paul Hill. I don't think anyone has moved left or right. There was a story pushed by the Tories and Farage that Europe was bad to deflect. Yes, this idea that all our problems come from Europe, all our problems come from outside, problems come from something external. And of course it's good for politicians because they don't have to take responsibility for bad policies. Blame the European Union. And don't worry, it's not just something that happens in the UK, it happens in every European country. Policies go badly, blame the European Union. Glasgow Kiss is spot on. Hello Glasgow Kiss, I didn't see you join the chat. Because I'm reading the comments, I'm not actually reading the names, not all of the names connected to the comments. That's why Bernie Sanders can beat Trump. I hope Bernie Sanders can beat Trump, because this is the thing for me about Bernie Sanders. Whether you're on the left or on the right, you have to accept that he is someone who wants to take money out of politics. And how can anyone on the left or on the right be happy with money in politics? You know, if you're on the left, you can't be happy about it. If you're on the right, you can't be happy about it. And there's only one politician who's really fighting to take money out of politics. Because once you take money out of politics, then you have to, what's the alternative? You focus on the people. And if the people want to go in one direction, or the people want to go in a different direction, then the politicians have to follow the people. You know, it doesn't sound like a leader, but it has to be that way, because for too long we have been, the politicians make the decisions and then push us along with them. Making a presentation on rhetoric, but nice to have Radio Robespierre on in the background. I hope I'm not distracting. Bernie Sanders is too difficult for laymen to understand, I'm afraid. I'm very left-wing because you can't explain socialism in 5 or 6 words. As soon as you mention tax hikes, you lose the working people. I think, I don't know, HH, if you're familiar with Kyle Kalinske, but I think he should be working for the Sanders team because he's very good at explaining in a very short way policies that Bernie Sanders could use. For example, Medicare for all. Instead of saying, how are you going to pay for it? He responds, how can you not pay for it? We're paying more at the moment. You know, how are we going to pay for it? Well, we're paying more at the moment for something else, which is worse. So I think you can answer the question quickly and redirect it onto something else. So people say, oh, we're paying more at the moment. Why is that? So you provide an answer, but you create another question for the person who's asking the question. So you redirect the question back on the questioner. Do you think social democracy is the best ideology in the 21st century? Paul Bryce. Social democracy is the best ideology. I think in the 21st century, maybe we need something different. I'm an advocate for direct democracy, an direct democracy, or electronic direct democracy, where we would vote. Now, it's riddled with problems, okay, and there are a lot of issues connected with direct democracy and electronic direct democracy. And, you know, many people will say, well, Brexit was direct democracy. In a sense, yes, it was. But I think if you look at somewhere like Switzerland, they have a direct democracy where people are allowed to vote in referendums on issues that affect the country. And people are much more astute when they're and learned about the issues than many people in Britain were regarding Brexit. Many people for the Brexit vote voted really to give the government a bloody nose, to punish the government, and it wasn't really focused on the issue of Brexit and how Brexit would impact ordinary people's lives, and how Europe impacts people's lives either. So I'm an advocate for direct democracy. I think a direct democracy where people, learn at school how government works, the benefits of government, the problems with government, to understand how how we vote and how our vote impacts our own lives and the lives of other people. We need, this needs to be a long process where we explain to people the benefits and costs of direct democracy, and then we can implement it, but not something we implement tomorrow. Direct democracy would hand power to the Sun and Mail readers. I maybe it would. That's not what I would want, but I think it would. At the moment, people feel they have no power. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold today. So the idea that, for example, first past the post renders a lot of people's votes useless. If I say, okay, I want to vote for the Labour Party in a Tory stronghold, well, it's pointless. Or if I want to vote for the Green Party in a Labour stronghold, it's pointless. So my vote has no value, has no power. While in a direct democracy, everyone's vote has the same power. So there are no secure seats or secure majorities or anything like that. Politicians basically become employees or civil servants. So we're voting for civil servants to do jobs. There's no more politicians. This is the ideal world that I would want, where we don't actually have political parties. We have policies. Anyone can present a policy. They can if they present it well, and the administration can agree with this policy that we can implement it, then we vote on it. I can pass the link in the chat box. Okay, please do, Bashiro. Regarding government spend tax. So if you send the link, I'll copy it into my text file so I don't lose it. Proportional representation, Paul Price. Well, proportional representation would be good, but my ideal form of government would be a direct democracy. And I know that there are a lot of problems, especially with an electronic one, because it can be hacked, it can be tampered with. But I think also if we have a paper trail, every time you vote, it prints out a copy so that if there's any discrepancies, they can be counted on by hand. Hi Max, completely agree with FPTP. Yeah, sorry about earlier, but oh no, don't worry. I'm see my original comment from earlier, which you replied to. I see me eat at more humble. No, look. If you disagree with me on something, let me know, because I was actually thinking about what you had said in the Majid video, and no, you guys are actually right. Majid, sorry. He doesn't let people speak. He has, okay, we're going to talk about this topic, and he's going to keep pushing until the person responds. And I think he was a bit too forceful in that video, and I should have responded a bit more directly to Majid, and I didn't. I was focusing more on the caller. So actually, Scotsdog, your comments, if you were being critical of me, I don't know if I actually saw your original critical comment, but if you were critical of me about that, other people were critical of me about my response to Majid. Majid is a bit of an asshole. He's blocked me on Twitter. Okay, he's fixated on anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, and I don't think it's a big issue in the Labour Party. Okay, if there is an issue, I've talked about Jeremy Corbyn said, attempting to remove people who are problematic, and then leave it at that. But he's fixated on this issue, and it seems to, as soon as someone mentions the word Labour Party, he becomes triggered, triggered completely on the issue of Labour Party or anti-Semitism. Electronic voting will probably be the standard at some point in the future. I think so, Paul. I love your avatar, Darth Sidious. I think it would be a process. So the first would be, it would be step by step towards direct democracy. But of course, there's a lot of work to be done before that. Explaining to people the benefits of it, the costs of it, and maybe people would need to actually have a normal vote on whether to change to a direct democracy. A socialist government in Britain will take generations now. The hope is the good example. Scottish independence and socialist government in Scotland. Is that a good example? Yes, I think Scotland is leading the way at the moment. Robespierre flipping hard towards populism. Direct democracy ends up being a tyranny of the masses. By the way, Majid is a Jew himself, but I don't think he's Jewish. Majid is Muslim. Kerstammer. So what do you guys think? So I have up here on the page Rebecca Long Bailey. So what do you guys think of Rebecca Long Bailey? Do you think she would make a good leader? The EU's #1 fan. I like Majid, but I think he's good on religious extremism and never falls for tribalism. I think he's good on the religious aspect, but when it comes to Labour Party, he seems triggered by it. I think it's these damn YouTube has this YouTube has this weird activity sometimes. Like, for example, it would show me how many views, for example, a video would have, and then for a few days it would show that the video on my platform it would show that the video had no views. And I was like, yeah, but people were commenting on the video. How can people comment on the video if there are no views? And then it would show the views. Or some comments would be put in spam or would be removed without me knowing it. But I also have noticed that a lot of the traffic to this channel has dropped a lot recently. Now, I don't know if that's YouTube messing me around, censoring me, but I don't think so. But I think it's maybe just after there was a lot of build up to the general election, and now after the general election there's a lot of people are like, okay, it's done and dusted, now let's move on to other topics. So political channels probably are seeing a bit of a dip at the moment. I should have opened a Star Wars channel. They're doing a lot of they're getting a lot of views. Emily Thornberry is the only viable option. Opposition leader in the short term. I thought that Majid call was horrible. He didn't let the caller even have his chance to put his point across. Yeah, Majid has this. He becomes a bit fixated on one issue. So, and then he's like, okay, answer the question. I think each of the presenters, like James O'Brien, also have their good and bad aspects. James likes to win arguments. Use the force marks. James likes to use like funny arguments, like to get this. How can I say? No spoilers to the rise. No spoiler. I had to see it today, but I didn't have a chance, so I was going to see it tomorrow. The Rise of Skywalker, but I have an appointment in the evening, so I can't go to see it tomorrow. So I'm hoping to see it either Christmas Eve or after Christmas, but no spoilers, please. I just heard that For some people it's good, it's very good, and other people it's terrible. Do you ever allow people to join and chat in your broadcasts? I'd love to force Mayori. I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing your name, of course. This is the third, I think it's the third live stream I've done. So I'd love to have people on the live stream. I'm not very familiar with the tool. I mean, it's called Streamslab OBS, this tool. So I'd like to be able to invite other people on the stream, so we can have a debate on a topic, or we can talk a bit more directly. So it's something I'd like to do in the future. If I can figure out how to do it, and then figure out how to invite people, then I'd love to do that, yeah. If you're up for it, let me know. I think some of this comes from when we lost our certainty, when the financial crisis hit, when we looked for absolutes or a better world. That's a good point, Killer White Rabbit. I think in the past, we knew one party represented X and another party represented Y. And now things have changed a lot. 86% of audience on Rotten Tomatoes seems pretty good. And that's good then. So I think it's maybe just some, salty YouTubers who are complaining about the rise of Skywalker, perhaps. We need an anti-Brexit party. Unfortunately, I think Brexit is already gone, so there's nothing we can do about it. QA Library. Hello Max, I'm modding another live stream, so I cannot be in two places at once. Oh, you're a busy man. Blairism is the only Labour force that can defeat Johnson. I don't know about that. I think it depends on the actual leader itself. It doesn't have to be one wing of the party or another wing. I think this is my idea. I think it depends on the type of person you have going up against Boris Johnson. Because if you look at Boris Johnson, is he right wing or is he a moderate? Because if you look at things he talked about in the past, you would not assume that he was hard right or a right winger. He was pretty much moderate. He was talking about, we need to do more for the environment, and I want to improve the city of London. I need to improve London. We need to provide more services. So he was not, a right winger, but now he seems to be one. So what is Boris Johnson? Have you seen the channel We Got a Problem? Yes, I was David Sherlock. I was going to We Got a Problem is a weird channel because for a period he just uploaded videos, but he didn't actually comment on them. And then recently, I think he started to do commentary on the videos. But I think he's probably the opposite to me. So it'd be interesting to do a live stream with him to do a debate. But I was going to respond to one of the videos, and then I said, "What's the point?" Because I don't think he'd be interested in hearing criticism of his point of view. But maybe I'm being facetious, so I don't want to be. You defeat populism by certainty. Max, should civil unrest be needed in the UK to wake up the electorate? Example, i.e. Yellow Vest. So, two things to say about this. Your accent is a weird mix between Scottish, okay, and Irish, Bagara. So the Yellow Vest, I don't think it's going to happen in the UK. And this is no offense to British people, but I think it was Phil from A Different Bias said, British people don't protest, they grumble, they complain. And maybe it's true. Definitely for Irish people don't, take pitchforks and go out and, burn down Parliament or anything like that. But will the British people do something like that? maybe. But if you look at the protests that have happened, the anti-Brexit ones, they were very peaceful. No one was really, there was no violence or any arrests, I think, at those protests. But it may be necessary to do something like that. But I think it depends on the British people. But I think the problem with this is that the situation has to become very, very bad before people will actually take to the streets. Sorry if you haven't already talked about... Have you seen Phil's video on Len Mikowski? Should have been fired from his job. He was photoed tonight walking out of a top restaurant tonight. It's a bit like, Animal Farm, this is one of the problems with political parties, is there's this idea that political parties work for the people, that they're voted on by the people to do the job of the people. But unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people in political parties who are there because it's comfortable, who like having Guido Fawkes. Oh my God, another one. Guido Fawkes. Yeah, we need another. I've lost my train of thought again. I keep doing that. I'm getting old. Is Irish reunification event inevitable now? Well, I think so. What happens at the end of the transition period, the official transition period, if it's not extended, is the Northern Ireland Assembly will vote whether to be aligned with the European Union. And the majority of people in the Assembly, when it reopens, will probably agree with that. That will mean that Northern Ireland will remain aligned with the European Union for 4 years. Then after that 4 years, there will be another vote, and depending on the result of that vote, Northern Ireland will either revert back to being aligned with the UK, or it will continue to be aligned with the European Union for 4 or 8 years. Now think about this for a moment. If Northern Ireland is aligned for 4 years, and then after another 4 years they have a vote, what are they going to vote for? If they have done all the work to maintain alignment, they're not going to break that. So I think they're going to vote to remain aligned with the European Union, maybe even with a huge majority, which would put it out to 8 years. And then after 8 years, are they going to break the alignment? Probably not. They're going to maintain it. So in this way, Northern Ireland will remain aligned with the Republic of Ireland. So it will be a united Ireland, but it's not like as people think, where Dublin will be the capital and people in Northern Ireland will be using the euro. It will be it will be a united Ireland without the name, but it'd be pretty much a united Ireland. Thoughts on Peter Hitchens? I preferred his brother. Any specific? Because I'm not a big follower of Peter Hitchens. He's a Remainer, I think. He's not a Brexiter. Do you think that Bojo is really going to last, or will he be another fall guy? See, this is the thing, and this is I found when I uploaded the video, I think it was yesterday morning or this morning, about Boris Johnson. So what is Boris Johnson? Will he be Prime Minister in 5 years' time? Maybe not, because I think what will happen is he has a majority. So it was a bit difficult to explain this in the video because it's a bit complicated. So I think what Boris Johnson will do is, after he has Brexit done, quote unquote, he'll start to talk about other topics, other issues, and he'll have to start to implement policies. And I think a lot of the policies that he will try to implement may not be popular with the people, and they may cause some pressure. They may, they're not popular with voters, or people in constituencies where the Conservatives now have a seat where there was Labour, people will start to say, okay, well, look, we don't like these policies. For example, universal credit. What if they implement a new policy where they reduce the funding for universal credit, which is possible? This will be damaging for those communities, and those communities, I hope, will put pressure on their MP. Their MP will put pressure on Boris Johnson, which should happen, and Boris Johnson will tell the MP to get lost. This MP will have to take the some pretty harsh words from the constituency, and maybe the MP will resign under pressure. This is one way you could damage Boris Johnson, by putting pressure on his MPs. If there's a risk of losing the seat in a by-election and the people are angry with the MP, are they going to vote for the Tories again? No, because what did they vote for the Tories for in the first place? For Brexit, which is done, and for against Jeremy Corbyn in some cases. But Jeremy Corbyn is no longer the leader. So there's no incentive for people in those constituencies to vote for the Conservatives. Now, Boris Johnson could avoid this problem by, at the last minute, pumping some money into the... it's going to change the screen. It could change the policy, change the problem by... eliminate the problem by pumping money into that constituency. But he can't do that in all cases. So he's going to end up losing seats between now and 5 years' time, because I think constituents are going to put pressure on their Tory MPs, who are there really just for two reasons. They aren't Jeremy Corbyn and Brexit. So I'll change the page. What would you like to see? Bunnies and flowery things. So this is an interesting story. I'll put it up on your screen now. Pick of Irene Foster. No, thank you. Okay. So it says here, Boris Johnson's visit to Lebedev party after victory, odd move for people's PM. So you remember Boris Johnson was saying, a parliament for the people. This is not exactly parliament for the people, is it? PM mingled with Russian elite amid claims of Moscow interference in UK politics. So what do the Russians want with Boris Johnson? Wallpaper, James O'Brien in a brown pants. No, thank you very much. We have some decency here. We're all infatuated and left guessing what the outcome of the country will be. The people. Tom Clark. Boris is Teflon while he's shifting policies to the right, and it's zeitgeist. Unless it's effectively opposed. Yeah, it has to be opposed, but don't expect self-staring at. The power is not in the Labour Party. The power is not in the Liberal Democrats. The power for the English people is not in the SNP. The power is in the people putting pressure on their local MP to change, telling these people, look, the next election you're gone. So I think this is the only way to put real people power, people pressure on local MPs that are part of Boris Johnson's government, because Boris Johnson doesn't want to lose his majority. So things will start to go badly, but if ordinary people don't get up and do something about it, then things are just going to get worse. Change pick to Finnish PM. Family insists that they were merely entrepreneurs and media proprietors. Nevertheless, the party held to celebrate Alexander's 60th birthday was a practical demonstration of how extensive their connections are, stretching all the way to Downing Street. It's like, but even why is it with Boris Johnson, every picture he looks terrible? Okay. What is your ideology, Terry James? I don't know if I could answer that question, because I don't know if I have an ideology, because I think it's a bit mixed between left, right and centre. There's some issues that I feel maybe on the right of, and some issues I feel on the left of. I don't like the label of left wing or right wing. Of course, the name I'm choosing was a left wing revolutionary. But I've said before in the past, I made a video about it, how the differences between his ideology and my ideology. Although, as I said, I don't really have an ideology, because there are some things for example, to give you an example, I think we should be stronger in prison sentencing. Prison sentencing should be stronger. That's normally a right-wing ideology position. But on the left, I think we should invest more in public services. Would you support removing all monarchies? Yes. What is the point of monarchy apart from tourism? Now, apart from tourism, why should someone receive a certain level of power because their father was in the same position? So I don't see the merit in that. If somebody arrives at a level of position of power, they should either be voted in or they should arrive due to merit, but not because their dad was the king or mother was the queen. Asked this in the last stream, but you missed it, unfortunately. At what point in time do you think it might flag up to leavers that they may have made a boob, and what might the first sign be? You meant when will Brexiteers realise that it's a problem? I think probably too late. After the UK has officially left the European Union. So when things really go tits up, when things, for example, when medicines, when there are medicine shortages, when there are problems to get documents for traveling abroad, if there, it could be one single thing that sparks a big issue for Boris. So, it could be something like, a child who's sick needs to travel to Paris, for example, or to another country in Europe to get a particular medical, some type of operation or something like that. And this news story could highlight, wow, this is what Brexit has delivered. This is what we're dealing with. And then people may realize, wow, okay, this isn't actually so good. We didn't actually vote for this. And then maybe some people will realize. Of course, many people will never care. Many people, you just have to look at some of the comments in my videos, in the comment section, how some people just, their entire position is, we won, you lost, get over it. So for them, even if they lose their job, they lose their family, they lose their livelihood, they lose their home, they'd say, oh, we won, you lost, get over it. Are you a socialist? No, I'm not a socialist. But I think there's some aspects of socialism that are that can be useful and can be good for people. The one way Boris is underestimated is his unnerving ability to shoot himself in the foot. He's already done it, just hasn't come out yet. Yeah, and I think Boris will be defeated not by the Labour Party, but by the Tories. Someone, there'll be people in the Conservative Party who will bring Boris Johnson down. It won't be someone outside. It will be somebody within the party. Somebody wanting more power, somebody wanting. I dread seeing King Charles. Oh my God! How about King William? I think it'll be somebody. It'll be a pact, or it will be a group of politicians who are ambitious for power that will remove Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson is not your typical prime minister or politician. I don't think he will last that amount of time. I think he's been maneuvered into doing things. I don't think he's a really intelligent person. He's not a dumbass. He's not a complete fool. But I don't think he's savvy enough to deal with people in the Conservative Party who will want him gone and want themselves put in place instead. Look at Theresa May. Theresa May was quite an intelligent person, but she made a lot of gaffes and a lot of wrong decisions, and she was gotten rid of. She was forced out. So it's also possible that Boris Johnson could be forced out. He could even be forced out this year. I'm not ruling it out. It's not highly likely at the moment, but you have to remember that Boris Johnson is doing well at the moment because of Brexit. He's pumping out this idea: get Brexit done, get Brexit done. The 31st of January, about a month away. We're going to see. I have a feeling now. I could be doing a live stream in February explaining, no, Boris Johnson is still doing very well, but I have a feeling that his approval will start to slowly decline. It happens to all politicians, even very, very popular ones. After 6 months, they're no longer as popular as they were before. Even Obama was in that position. So any politician, the French politicians, it's normally like 6 minutes, and then their approval ratings drop. They don't last 6 months. Everyone hit the like button. Yes, please hit the like button. Gets more people into the chat as well, I think. He's looking very happy there. This is a picture from last year where Boris Johnson had turned up to some party and then left without his security guards and got on a flight back to London, and people were saying, well, he looked like a homeless man or something like that. Tom Clark, please don't say things like that. I have a weak stomach. Arlene Foster and Boris Johnson having a sex scandal. I can't see PM being unsettled. MPs will almost always toe the party line. No, you're right there, Matt. They do toe the party line, but not always in favour of the PM. If the PM starts to go in a direction that pisses off a lot of people, then they'll remove him, irrespective of how popular he is. And Boris Johnson is going to do that. He has a long history of treading on people's toes. He looks like someone out of a comedy show. Yes, I think so. Now, if it was a comedy show, you'd probably say, no, I'm not watching this. This is just too unrealistic. We were promised bunnies. Why would the Tories want to force Johnson out with such a big majority? Wouldn't they see him as the goose that lays the golden egg? See, this is the thing, Sam, is we look at it like from a logical point of view. But you have to remember that politicians don't always think logically. So they are always thinking about, okay, how can this situation improve my position? How can I get something out of this? And if you have a lot of people thinking in that same way, the leader is going to have some problems because, yeah, he has a majority, but not all of them may agree with giving Boris Johnson their vote. They may want something in return. It doesn't have to, this idea that the party will always vote for what the leader wants. It normally works that way, but if Boris Johnson, if there's a big enough group in the party that says, no, let's combine. Your voice is like I should do these ASMR. Oh, okay. So if you have a big enough group in the party, they can influence the Prime Minister, saying, we want these concessions. And this is the beginning of the end, really, for the politician, the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister wants to go in one direction, they want to go in another, and they will threaten to bring down the Prime Minister. I think many times we confuse it with America, where the president is the one who has all the power and the party follow the president. In the UK, it's a bit more of a rough and tumble, getting concessions from the Prime Minister trying to get concessions from individual MPs, trying to keep them together, a bit like herding cats in a way. A bit easier than herding cats, but still problematic for the Prime Minister and the party. The party, can whip the MPs to do something, but the party may not always agree with the Prime Minister. Hi, Mark Franks. So if you are just joining the chat, I promised bunnies, so here are the bunnies. So people were complaining about seeing Boris Johnson's face, so this is a bit more palatable. We want concessions. As you said, will Fianna Fáil be the next government in Ireland? Tom Clark. Shame on me, but I haven't really been following Irish politics. So it depends on... I think it depends on Brexit. If Brexit becomes a disaster for the Republic of Ireland, I think this could put pressure on Leo, and Leo may lose the next election. Now, I don't know when the next election is. Who will be the next Taoiseach after next election? Can you tell me when the next election is in the Republic of Ireland? Normally, the Taoiseach has maybe he's Taoiseach for twice and then he's replaced. I think Bertie Ahern was the longest serving president, or Taoiseach, sorry. I'm mixing up my words. Chocolate bunnies, okay, Paul, you're never satisfied. After chocolate bunnies, what do you want? I'm a bit worried about the withdrawal agreement. What if Boris breaks it? Well, if it's put into law, then I don't think he can break it. Then he could be arrested. And to raise it, it would have to go to the courts and he could be removed. And that's not a parliamentary issue. It doesn't have to have a majority in Parliament if he breaks the law. We saw that with the Ben Act. You don't need the Ben Act needed a majority. But David Sherlock, good night. Have a nice night. Work to do. You're working on the day before Christmas Eve? That's terrible. Ask your boss to get some more time off. They'll be selling Christmas chocolate bunnies in Aldi when I went in. Hi Max, what do you think of Polish people wanting to leave the EU? So the Poles want to leave because, I don't know if it's the Polish people or it's the the government who want to leave. Because I think for Polish people, they have benefited quite a lot from membership of the EU. So I don't know why they would want to leave. Now, if it's right-wing rhetoric that's convinced them to leave, then we're going to have another Brexit case on our hands. So it'd be a pull exit, maybe. But once again, I think, if you can convince people, and Brexit has been a good example of that, convince people that convince them to vote against their own interests. And, British people have been convinced, and I imagine the Polish people can be convinced also. Rumours of a May general election in Ireland. So, well, May's a good bit away. So I think if Brexit is causing problems, I think Leo Varadkar may have problems too. And people may get tired of him and want him removed. But I know, like, apart from the Brexit issue, I heard that he's not all that popular. That the economy is doing well at the moment, but that mightn't be enough to save him. So I think also people will pox it. Happy McNugget pox it. Yeah, that's a good name for it. So I don't know if Leo Varadkar would remain as Taoiseach after that. So the Fianna Fáil could win again. But at the end of the day, is there a real difference between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael? Like when I lived there, that was a good few years ago, many people complained about, you vote for one, you get the other. It doesn't make any difference. You can vote for whoever you want and it doesn't make any difference. There's no real difference between the two main parties. Varadkar is prone to gas, major issues on healthcare and homelessness in Ireland, yes. I think homelessness probably isn't going to bring him down because most people, and this is not to be, I'm not trying to sound rude or anything, but most people don't really care about that issue. They should, but they don't. And unfortunately also homeless people can't vote, so they can't do anything about it. So you're in a sort of lose-lose scenario there. But on healthcare, people need, everyone needs access to healthcare, and if hospitals aren't serviced right, if they're, nurses are overworked and underpaid, then people should be complaining about it. People should be protesting about it. The only way you change, policies many times is to protest about it. So if anyone is, some people joining the chat, I was, strong-armed into changing the image here to bunnies. So I'm going to change it back to politics because that's what most of you are here for. So this is an interesting article I'm going to share with you, and we can have a short chat about it. So I'll change my bunny image. Goodbye to the bunnies, and hello to Ken Clark, who's a bit like a bunny. He's, a cuddly old man. Okay. So Boris Johnson should stop campaigning and start governing, says Ken Clark. Ken Clark criticises PM for having no detailed plans for Brexit or social care. Priti Patel. Not bad to look at. She is, but she's a horrible person. Sam Edwards, you have a lovely talk. Thank you very much, Sam Edwards. I have a bit of a sore throat today, so my voice usually sounds a bit better. So Ken Clark has said, Ken Clark has warned Boris Johnson he must stop campaigning and get on with governing, condemning the Prime Minister for seemingly having no detailed plans for the final Brexit deal or for other vital issues such as social care. The veteran, former Conservative MP who stepped down from Parliament at the election, having been stripped of the Tory whip shortly beforehand, said Johnson should replace advisers such as Dominic Cummings with people who would be able to govern. Yes, well, I agree 100% here with Clark. Clark said that while Johnson's 80-strong majority meant he was able to run the country more or less as he chose, Clark told BBC Radio 5 that he had seen few signs yet of any coherent policy programme. Of course, Boris Johnson maybe is treating this as a vanity project, just get Brexit done. Well, see, I can stand in front of an aircraft carrier with mission accomplished behind me, Brexit accomplished. But Ken Clark is right here. Okay, what are your policies going ahead? You had a manifesto, and you talked about building 40,000. Okay, Wiescott's not only are nurses underpaid, but the removal of their bursary in England and Wales, while there is 40,000 shortage of nurses, is astonishing. Why did people not see through Boris on this alone regarding the NHS? Because they were bought on this ridiculous rhetoric of getting Brexit done. And it's a real, it's disgraceful. So this idea of, they're going to build 60 hospitals. Of course they're not going to build 60 hospitals. They're going to hire 40,000 nurses. But I think it was Phil was saying how many nurses at the moment are saddled with debt because they have to pay to study. And then many of them are leaving because, there are less nurses, so there is more stress, and more people are giving up because they can't deal with the stress, which causes more stress. So it's a complete and utter disaster. For a taste of what's been owned by the US, looks like, check out the ousted Bolivian president interview on YouTube. It's shocking. So people were talking that it was a coup, but who was behind the coup? Do you watch Jonathan? Jonathan Pye is fantastic. And did you agree with his last episode where he blamed the left for abusing Brexiteers for the outcome of the Tories being in power, I imagine. I didn't really agree with him. I think he attempts to attack both sides, but really, if the Tories are doing horrible crap, it's their fault. But calling Brexiteers stupid isn't really the reason why people voted for Boris Johnson. People voted for Boris Johnson because they believed a lie. I could be shouting at people calling Brexiteers stupid all day long, but I'm not going to change anyone's vote. Someone will vote for Boris Johnson because they like Boris Johnson or agree with him. Max, where can I follow you on Twitter? If you search for my name, maybe what I'll do is I'll share a link to my Twitter account. Please do follow me on Twitter. I don't have a lot of followers. Just a moment. I'll post a link here in the chat. Mark Franks, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the super chat. Do you have a question? Anthony C, thank you very much. Gina Miller for PM. She can handle Boris. Gina Miller would be fantastic. Now, I'm not familiar with all of her policies. So Mark Franks, if you have a question, please shout it in or type it in. No, shouting in won't work. So Gina Miller, I think she would be fantastic. She's a real go-getter. She's a real warrior, as we say in Ireland, who's like a woman who doesn't take any crap. Oh, you just managed it. Okay, thanks a lot, Mark. So she would... I think she would be good against Boris Johnson, but she was an independent, or she was with the Liberal Democrats. I forget, because I know there was a group set up of people who were no longer in the Labour Party, but that group was dissolved, I think, today or yesterday. So if she was a member of the Labour Party, I think she could go up against Boris Johnson, and she would tear him a new one. So she could be a really good candidate. But I think, we can't vote. You can't just support someone just because you like them or they say the right things or they have a strong character. But it also has to be policies. But then, as someone said before, I forget who had said it. We really vote on personalities, not on policies. Ireland will have many more gains from Brexit, unification being one. Tom Clark. So some people disagree with the idea of having unification because it could be extremely expensive for the Republic of Ireland. So what are your opinions on that? Let me see. Hi, Zoe Castles. Nursing, teaching and social work during the university part of the course is okay. The problem comes when it comes to placements, which are basically full-time unpaid employment. Yeah, this is a thing, Lenny. This is a thing that could be changed. Providing money for people in order to... you said it comes to placements are basically unpaid. Yeah, like, why have unpaid employment? Like, people need to live. So they end up getting into debt in order to work. This is ridiculous. 3 to 6 months, give them the full rate of pay, and then when they complete their training, they continue on the same pay. Like, this is not a business. We are providing a service to the citizens, to ordinary people. Getting people to work for free is just ridiculous. And it's not like the government don't have the money. If they want to have it, they can find it. Anthony C. Gina Nadira Miller is a Taiwanese British business owner, and activist who initiated the 2016 Orversis Secretary of State for exiting the European Union court case. Yes, she was instrumental in that court case. But I think she'd be a great politician because she really knows her stuff. Cheers, Max. Okay, thanks, Matt. Have a nice evening. What does Max Christmas look like? We are curious. What does my Christmas look like? Very downbeat, because we normally spend Christmas with my wife's parents, my parents-in-law. So because they're Italians, we have lasagna for Christmas dinner. Yeah, and so when I tell Italians, English people have turkey or Americans have turkey, so they're like, oh, that's quite strange. And most Italians also have like fish or lasagna or tortellini in brodo, which, if there are any Italians here, so it's a type of tortellini type of pasta in a soup. To the working classes, mainly of the North, who voted Tory even after the lies of the campaign, the links with Russia, and the comments by Dominic Cummings and Priti Patel, the Tories despise them. Why? Because why do the Tories hate the poor, the working class? Because they consider them inferior. I think that's it. If you look at some of the comments, they're talking about how in the past the Tories viewed the poor people as lazy, as a burden on the state, feckless, work-shy layabouts, as James O'Brien had used, and they deserve. I think there is this Victorian mentality regarding the poor. Send them to the workhouse, get them to work. Work makes them better. That's I think I think that's the attitude of the Tories. So giving them support, giving the working class money, helping them get jobs is a waste of time because they don't want to work. They're just lazy, and they just want to live off the state because I think if you were to ask most Tory MPs to describe a working class person, they would say, someone who with low intelligence. These are not my words. These are what the Tories would say. Glasgow Kiss, a kiss to you as well. Thanks for all what you do. Not enough like-minded people around. Thank you very much. You're too kind. If you have a question, or if it's just a comment, that's fantastic. If you have a question, please just write it in the chat. Yes, I think the Tories just have this low opinion of ordinary people, and think they, if they, as Anthony says, the Tories see poor as collateral damage. I'd say it even goes worse than that. That they want to do damage to them in order to maybe to convince them to become better people. A bit like the workhouse mentality. Send people to the workhouse so they can become better people. And obviously we know what happened to people in the workhouse. But those bunnies do not have sharp, pointy teeth. Did Tim die? No, Tim escaped, didn't he, in the film? The knights were all killed, but Tim escaped, the sorcerer. Poor, hard-working people don't deserve to be treated like trash or a number and asset rather than ordinary person. Just is not so fortunate. Yes, I agree, Paul. I think what we're seeing now also is the gig economy, or the 0-hour contract, where people are literally being treated as numbers and things that can be bought and sold. Tom Clark, are you Irish? You pronounce T words like an Irish. Yes, I am Irish. I don't know if I'd said before. I'm originally from Longford, but I now live in Italy. So most of my... You seem you've been out of Ireland for a long time. Yes, I've lost part of the accent. Oh, the chat is moving quite quickly now. Max, what do you think of Chartism? And what do you think we should... what do you think we take from their struggles of our fight today? Chartism, you'll have to refresh my memory on what Chartism is. I should know what it is. Why it's in my mind, but I don't remember. So also last night I didn't sleep very well, so I'm not operating at 100% today. Lazarus just checked online, up to 8,000 nurse bursaries. Is there any chance that a United Ireland? What do you think the UVF will do? Igor Scott, yes. I think United Ireland will happen, but it's going to be a long time from now, and it's not going to be, people waking up one day and, the euro is used in Belfast, or people are speaking Irish or using Irish passports. Like everything is Irish, and the capital is Dublin. But you're going to see, at the end of the transition period, the Brexit transition period, you're going to see a vote in the Assembly to align with the European Union, and it's likely that vote will go through, it will pass, and then you're going to see more closer alignment with the Republic of Ireland on laws, on regulations, and then eventually, after a period of time, it will probably be so aligned that you won't be able to tell the difference. But I think it's some time away before you see Dublin being the capital of Northern Ireland. It's at least 8 years, I think. Chartists are the people who marched from the north collecting millions of signatures demanding healthcare, the vote. Oh yes, sorry. It was the Peter Pool, wasn't it? The Peter Pool incident. People should march again, but I'm not advocating for someone to put their life on the line or put their life in danger. But if we're going to see, next year is going to be pivotal. If next year the situation, Boris Johnson doesn't start implementing policies that help ordinary people, I think it may be necessary for people to start taking direct action. Protesting in the streets, blocking streets, a general strike perhaps would be necessary. Peterloo, sorry. I think it would be necessary for people to start to take action. I'm named after a revolutionary. I'm not talking about going all in on that, but gradually people need to start changing things, because the government aren't going to change it. The opposition are toothless. They're not going to be able to do anything. So it'll be down to ordinary people to put pressure. I think put pressure on your MP would be the first thing to do. Organise, put pressure on your MP. Tell them that you're going to vote them out unless they look after you, improve services in your area. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not an ideologue. If a Tory MP works hard and provides services to his or her local community, looks after people, then I don't have a problem with someone voting for that. You should vote for the person who looks after your community. But not... Now, people may disagree and say, well, if you're voting for that Tory, you're empowering Boris Johnson. But at the end of the day, if you're asking people to vote, people don't vote on high-level issues. They vote on local issues. They vote on things that affect their lives. So it's better to have maybe an MP for the people in that community. It might be better to have an MP, a Tory MP who's doing stuff, than a Labour MP who's doing nothing. Now, we can argue over that, but I think for ordinary people, they don't look at high-level politics. They look at how their life is affected. I'll march too. I've had enough. Good on you, Glasgow Kiss. I will march. I have nothing else to lose. Lazarus, they say, there's no man more dangerous than the man who has nothing to lose. I assume you're a man because of the name Lazarus. We have no leverage in Parliament, though. I talked about this. I don't know if it was in the last live stream or I was talking in a video, but there is power, but it has to be coordinated. There has to be power, so there has to be leverage in Parliament and on the streets. So it has to be coordinated in the sense that cucumbers on his eyes. If you have action taking place, protests on the streets, it has to be talked about in Parliament. So there has to be a coordination between the members of Parliament who can resist or who can try and attempt to resist the government, block the government, introduce new bills, filibuster if possible. I don't know if it's still possible in the UK, but do anything you can, but coordinate with the people outside. So on the day of a protest, organise something in Parliament. Organise in Parliament, then organise at the same time some type of protest, a general strike or a strike on certain things. Bring it up in Parliament. Try to get the media on board. Talk about these things with the media. Even, become a firebrand, because firebrands attract attention. You don't have to be right. Look at, what's his name? George Galloway, for example. He's wrong on a lot of things, but people listen to him because he's angry. People like angry people. People like to listen to angry people. So get on the street, get angry, shout a lot, show passion, get the media involved. The media will get involved. Then it's not something that happens overnight, but it's something that gradually increases. And you could get to a stage where the people are more powerful than the government. Because remember, it's the people who put those the MPs in Parliament. And it's only the people who can remove them at the end of the day. Coordinated power stopped water charges in Ireland. Yes, that's correct. Tom Clark. Yeah, I remember there was a lot of people protesting about water charges. And they got stopped because because if you put pressure on one TD or one MP, that's one thing. But if you put pressure on 100, that's a very big difference. That's has much more impact. And you can't influence Parliament directly, but you can influence your local MP. Calling them, going to their home, when they're out for a coffee. You don't have to harass or attack people, but you make your point. You put pressure on them. You say to them also, look, if you fix this, I'll go away. I'll let you drink your coffee in peace. Guy Fawkes, come back, all is forgiven. Guy Fawkes, we use him as a protest, but his end goal was not so much for the people. It was about just having a Catholic in charge. How could rich politicians who lie, cheat and manipulate the public have the audacity to think that there's a position to make the working classes into better people? Look at Jacob Rees-Mogg, for example. Jacob Rees-Mogg considers everyone below him as peripheral, as a tool to be used, and there's a type of disgust of the working class. Even the way, for example, I was watching. It was on Twitter. I think it was people talking about if you want to work in certain parts of the UK, in London, that your accent can be a problem. Like, I've been away from Ireland so long. I live in Italy, and in Italy, accent is not a problem. I've never heard of anyone losing a job or not being given a promotion in their job because of their accent. So it's necessary, if you want to succeed in the UK, you need to speak like the Queen. Is this true? Is this actually real? Like, it's not, your ability is not important, it's how you speak. I could understand if this was something from the 1800s, but it's surely not possible today. Like, this is a question for you guys. Is this a real issue? Have you ever experienced someone, or do you know someone who didn't get a job or didn't get a promotion over their accent? It just sounds so weird. It's nice to see like-minded people here on the channel. Don't feel so alone. Good, Mark Franks. This is a friendly home. Even I love this this format, and people may disagree with me. People may hate me, but I've actually had on the last chat, on the last live stream, some people who disagree with me very strongly on Brexit, but we had a debate we had a nice chat here on the stream. So Kano D, Max, do Labour have an anti-white problem? An anti-white problem? I never really thought about that. So unless you're talking about SJWs, so social justice warriors, so there may be people, I think there may be people in the Labour Party, but I don't think it's the main core belief of the Labour Party. But there may be people in the Labour Party who say, we shouldn't have a white leader because they're white, or something like that. So yes, these people exist everywhere, but they're a fringe group, and I don't think they have any real power in the Labour Party, and I certainly hope they don't. But I don't think the Labour Party has an issue with white people. Northern accent does sound awful, mind. I'm a northerner. Hearing one on TV doesn't half make me cringe. But I like the northern English accent, like Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. He has a northern accent. King of the North. Proper English is practically impossible for me. Love your accents, folks. Just listening to you, I'm guessing Milan, not near Venice actually, which is underwater half the time. I remember the 80s where what school you went to was a loaded question. Yeah, so Jimbo Jones, fantastic name. Yeah, I think that was maybe address was a big, postcode or your address. If people said, no, don't write your address on your CV because there's a risk that people won't respond to you. How dangerous do you think people like Sargon of Akkad are to the public discourse now? Sargon of Akkad is a very particular character. So he started out as a quote-unquote liberal, and then he started supporting Donald Trump. So then I said, okay, well, you're not a liberal if you support Donald Trump. And then now he went down a rabbit hole of really weird right-wing politics. And of course, he's like a Brexiter, and, not for any rational reason. He doesn't have any, rational justification for being a Brexiter. It's just the European Union is bad. It's undemocratic. Let's go there and show how undemocratic it is by speaking to democratically elected members. Okay. So he used to be somewhat edgy, and I actually started watching him some years ago when he was edgy, like, criticizing SJWs or criticizing the Young Turks in America. He was like sort of a complainer or criticizing everything. But then when he started to hold particular positions, I realized, well, okay, I don't agree with this guy anymore. Now, is he dangerous? Potentially. I actually thought that he may actually win a seat when he ran as an UKIPper. I think it was in the European elections. He was destroyed. He didn't win a seat. But I actually thought maybe he might if he could get his vote, if you get enough people to vote for him, because he's famous online, not in public, but he is famous online. So I thought that may have helped him out, but in the end it didn't. Farmer accents. So I must have a farmer's accent because I used to live in Longford, and that's a Colchi area. Some people have been Americanized and lost their accents, I guess. Paul Rice, I don't remember if you had said where you're from, but I remember some years ago I was in Dublin and I heard a sort of Dublin American accent, and it was really jarring. It was really weird. So it was mainly young people, like teenagers or maybe people in their early 20s. They were speaking with a Dublin accent, Dublin 4 accent, but also it sounded half American. It was really weird. But I think it's actually a new type of accent. It's an accent that just appeared in the last 10, 15 years. My goodness, I knew the name. I didn't realize it was the same guy. I must be more out of touch than I thought. Mind you, I don't know what that's about. You're responding to someone. Paul H., thank you very much. Have a beer on me and keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Paul. Do you have a question you'd like to ask? What are your thoughts on Clive Lewis running for Labour leader? I've always thought he's quite charismatic and appealed to many working class Tories, and he's ex-military. I think he could use that to his benefit. I don't know how much, but he sounds like a good guy. Like I don't know much about him, Clive Lewis, but from what I've seen, he could be a good leader. He could win over the working class vote. Ex-military is, he wouldn't be branded as a traitor or anything like that. Some of the some of the language that's been used against Jeremy Corbyn. So Cork accent is beautiful. Sarah Jessica Farter, welcome to the chat. Maybe you've already been on for about an hour, but I didn't see you, sorry. I'm from the Highlands, basically Inverness. I want to see Scotland. I've never been to Scotland. I have to see Scotland. I so want to see it. My wife and I have fallen in love with Scotland and whiskey, of course. Love Phil from A Different Bias, his intelligence and humour. Highly recommend. I love your warmth. Thank you very much, Sam. Phil is my idol. Phil is like, I'm at 5, Phil is at 55. So he's really up there. He knows all his stuff and he does a lot of research. I'm more of a, just open my mouth and let whatever comes out come out. I don't do a lot of thinking beforehand. I respond to things, while he's more, he creates things. So, but I think we have different niches. But I'd love to do a live stream with him sometime. For a new image, yes. Sam Priest Rhetoric, what image would you like to see? Tulsi Gabbard has been branded a traitor, serving army major with, But I think the situation in the US is different from the UK. But I think they'll throw anything they can at a politician in order for it to stick. So if Clive Lewis runs, the Tories will try and use something against him. But it'd be great to see Phil and Max do something together. I'm not going to promise anything, but maybe something. There could be something in the pipeline. I'll just leave it at that. I'm new here. What is this guy's nationality? So I'm Irish, Nathan Drake, but I live in Italy. So I don't probably sound like an Irishman, the typical top of the morning to you. Sort of. That's a terrible stereotypical accent. Maybe some Egyptian pyramids or something. We should have a vote. Maybe, I don't know if I can put no, I can't put a vote in the chat. Or maybe I can. Let me see. No. No, I'll just change the image. Sorry about that. Now I wanted to put in some type of... So we'll go away from... How about somebody else? Sorry, this is a political one, so we have to stay on politics for a little bit longer. Okay, guys. Labour's Brexit position set MPs up to fail, says Lisa Nandy. Potential leadership candidate predicts hard road back to power and calls on colleagues to fight a hard Brexit. So this is something I disagree with regarding the Finnish PM. Okay, Tom, I will eventually come to the Finnish PM, I promise. So Lisa Nandy was a Brexiteer. She's a Labour MP and she supported Brexit. And now she's talking about, we need to honour the vote and maybe fight a hard Brexit. Okay, well, how the hell do you fight a hard Brexit? Boris Johnson is in charge. Brexit is going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. So I don't see how you can stop a hard Brexit. Labour faces a hard road back in the former heartlands because of the party's decision to back a second referendum cemented a sense that it had stopped listening, potential leadership candidate Lisa Nandy has argued. I disagree with this. It's not that the Labour Party had agreed to set back a second referendum. The issue was not that. The issue was get Brexit done. And they believed Boris Johnson could do it. They believed Boris Johnson had told them, I'm going to give you a unicorn. And they believed it. They didn't ask, well, how are you going to create a unicorn or where are you going to get a unicorn from? They didn't care about that. He said, I'm going to give you a unicorn, get Brexit done, and people believed him. So there's no point talking about, well, we were going to prove that you couldn't get a unicorn or would explain that a unicorn is difficult to find. No, this is not the point. Nandy, a Wigan MP who served in Jeremy Corbyn's first shadow cabinet, said that offering a softer Brexit was the only way that would have prevented the scale of the collapse. in seats across the north. But that's basically what Jeremy Corbyn was going to do. He was going to offer his Brexit and Remain. Like, people would have not... This is the thing that many politicians don't seem to understand. People don't vote for the lesser of two evils. They vote for the evil. Maybe let me rephrase that. People don't vote for the softer solution. They vote for the hard solution. So if they had a choice between voting for a soft Tory or a real Tory, they'll vote for the real Tory. That's why you should never use Tory policies. You should have your own policies. What's happening in the US is a very good example of this, where you see Democrats who are on the right, who are trying to siphon off votes from Republicans. They fail, because if the voter has a choice between a soft Republican and a real Republican, they'll vote for the real Republican. So you have to show yourself as something different. So this idea of, we should have presented a soft Brexit, it would have been more palatable to many people. No, because the people didn't vote for a soft Brexit. They voted to get Brexit done, which was completely something different. It was a unicorn. Boris Johnson said, I'll give you a unicorn, and they voted for a unicorn. Wait till they find out that there is no unicorn, or the unicorn has rabies. Speaking to The Guardian in a pub in Wigan, she said it was easy to blame Corbyn and believe that without him everything will be resolved. That I agree with. Removing Jeremy Corbyn isn't going to fix the problem. Although in a sense it may, because if many people voted for the Tories not to have Jeremy Corbyn in charge, removing Jeremy Corbyn really takes away the motivation to vote for Boris Johnson. I don't know if I'm making myself clear there. So in a way it does, not all of the reason, but some of the reason. But she said that the party's Brexit position was also responsible. In all honesty, Brexit just played into the sense that we are adrift from communities like these. I don't agree fully with that, and that we don't speak to them. We don't stand for them, we don't understand them, and worst of all, we're deeply disrespectful towards them. And that this has been building for 15 to 20 years, she said. But this is not about Brexit. If you're not connecting with ordinary people, Brexit wouldn't have made any difference. If you're talking about 15, 20 years, that's not Brexit. You're talking about the last 3 years is Brexit. So this idea that Brexit was the problem, we should have had a softer Brexit, that's not going to fix the problem if you have never had any real community groundwork. Anyway, I'll go back to some of the comments you guys have. Labour did better when they ran on a soft Brexit with no referendum. It doesn't matter what you think, the Labour Brexiteers saw it as him clearly back in Remain. Nathan Drake. I don't know how to comment on that. I don't know if it's really true, but maybe I don't know if I can dispute that either. I wish Brexit never happened and we weren't split in half. I agree, Paul. It's I hope things can improve after Brexit. Like, the damage will be done, but maybe there's a chance for the country to heal. The northern working classes that voted Leave supported Jeremy Corbyn when they said he would honour the 2016 result. When he shifted his position to the second referendum, they felt betrayed. Why does the English and Welsh have a problem with Scandinavian-style socialism? Why are they afraid of it? I think maybe it's just the word socialism. If you told people, yes, we're going to pay a little bit more taxes, but you're going to have better services, most people would support that. But I think the problem is the media. As soon as you present that, media, the people who own the media don't want their taxes to go up under any circumstances. So they're going to criticize you, call you a communist or whatever, and say that you're going to waste the money or whatever, and it's not possible. What works in Scandinavia can't work here, so everything would be diminished, and you won't be able to get any traction. Will there be an IT exit? How can I say it? Exit? At the moment, no. Unless the government changes, unless Salvini comes in. But there isn't a lot of interest in leaving the European Union. Now, there is a lot of Euroscepticism, but a lot of it has dampened a bit since Brexit. People are seeing, the British people have voted for Brexit. What were they voting for? Did they know what they were voting for? Do they not understand the damage it's going to do? So there's Euroscepticism is not so strong here in Italy. So I think the idea of Italy leaving is not impossible, but it's much more remote than anything else. If you were in a street fight against two people, who would you want on your side, Boris or Jeremy? Boris or Jeremy? If I was, I love these deep, profound, thought-invoking questions. Maybe I could use maybe Boris, because Boris is more overweight, so he could maybe take a few more punches, and I could maybe run away at that stage. So if it's a street fight between me and one other person and Boris Johnson, see, you have to give a bit more background. If it's a fight, between just me and one other person and Boris is there, then I can use Boris as a punch bag. But if it's a group of people, then he's not going to be much of a help. Maybe Jeremy Corbyn might be more light on his feet. He might be able to even the odds a bit. So it's a difficult. I need to have a bit more information about the question. I'm hoping the EU play hardball with the Tories until they guarantee our rights. Lazarus, I'm afraid, hoping the European Union help the British people, I wouldn't put a lot of faith in that. Because they have no incentive to do that. And it's not to be mean, or it's not to be negative on my side. I just feel that they say, look, you have made your decision. It's your problem now. Who they may help would be probably European citizens living in the UK. And I think they would want to help also British people living in the European Union. But ordinary British people, I'm sorry, they say, look, it's not our business. And I think a lot of people probably wouldn't want the European Union interfering. That was one of the reasons, one of the many hundred of reasons that the Brexiteers were saying, no, we don't want the European Union giving us extra rights. We want less rights. The young and old in England are pretty much on the same page. Boris can only take on small boys. Anthony, who would you prefer to have on your side in a street fight? Maybe you'd be better off on your own, because neither of them would be much use. But I think maybe Jeremy might be, maybe in his, when he was an anti-fascist, maybe he was doing some street fighting. I don't know. Can't comment, but perfect, Mark Franks. Was the socialism in the 70s so bad in the UK? I think the socialism of the 70s probably isn't adaptable today, because our society has changed a lot. A lot of, just to give you an example, I don't do it full time, but a lot of people, I think, actually feel from a different bias, is planning to to work full time on YouTube. Now, that would be unheard of in the past, in the in the 1970s. The idea of providing a type of service like this. So I don't know if do you control the means of production, or are you the entrepreneur? Are you the owner of the production? So it's a grey area, I think. Capitalism is capital in decline always forces some percentage of people to lean towards fascism. Why is that? I'm not sure. I think it's maybe fascism takes advantage of capitalism. It's maybe not the other way around. Thornberry smeared with goose fat. Is that what you want to put on the images? I hope not. Opinion on Gerry Adams. He's a TD at the moment, I think. So I'm probably one of the worst people to ask about Irish politics, because I've been so disconnected from it for the last 15 years. So as far as I know, he's a TD, so he's a member of the Irish Parliament. But is there a chance that Sinn Féin could actually win a majority in the Dáil? I don't think so. I don't know. That's how much I know about Irish politics. I'd like maybe to get more informed about it so I could respond to your questions, because a lot of people sometimes ask me questions about Irish politics and I have no answer because I've been so disconnected from it. Come on, did you see how Jeremy slammed the door in anger? Yes, he was quite angry there. I think, unicorn image, please. I think for Jeremy, he can leave. He doesn't have to deal with this. Didn't Gerry Adams die? No, that was Martin McGuinness. Martin McGuinness died a few years ago. No chance for Sinn Féin, but maybe Fianna Fáil would take them in on a coalition. Yeah, I think they used to be like toxic. Not even toxic isn't the right word, but Sinn Féin used to be, beyond the pale, to excuse the pun. But now they're a mainstream party, so I don't see why Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael wouldn't take them on in a coalition. Probably not Fine Gael, because they're a bit more right wing, but Fianna Fáil probably would, yes. And I think it'd actually be good for the country to have that type of coalition, because Sinn Féin are not, like the IRA. Sinn Féin are more a socialist party. Max, what about Boris and Russian billionaire? Yes, what is Boris up to? I posted an image before about Boris and this guy, Lebedev. Maybe he's, signing a check for Boris or something. This idea, Boris, I think there's also this idea of that power corrupts, as we all know. Power corrupts absolutely. Paul Price heading off. Good night. Have a nice night. Off to bed. Max, Jeremy leaves. The Red Tories will gain power. Jeremy is legitimately liked by BAM. And he's proven himself to many. The UK will struggle with another like him. Now will the next leader have to capitulate to the fascists of the nation? The next Labour leader? I don't think so. I think they'll try. Maybe they may attempt to move to the centre, but I can't be sure about that. No sign of the Russian report. No, it's not going to happen. There's not going to be a release of the Russian report. There's no pressure on Boris to release it. Why would he bother? The media aren't going to push him. The Labour Party have no power, and his own party don't give a crap. I generally shed a tear on the night of the election for all the marginalised in our society, but also for Jeremy. I really believed he would change the country. I was doing a live stream on the night of the election, and when I saw the exit poll, I was gutted. I was like, no, this can't be possible. It can't be possible. We need to wait. We need to wait for the results. And it was bad, and I felt really bad because, look, I've said before, this doesn't affect me economically or personally because I'm not in the UK, but I have lots of friends and family, and you guys, a lot of you guys on this chat are from the UK. And, even though I don't know you personally, I don't know your situation, I don't know your family or whatever, I don't want anything bad to happen to you guys, because I don't want anything bad to happen to anyone. Maybe apart from Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg. No, I'm joking. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. Because nobody deserves this. Nobody deserves to be suffering, be it economically or socially, and these people are going to destroy the UK. They're destroying it at the moment. They're going to destroy people's lives. They're going to split the country down the middle. And for what? So that some billionaires don't have to pay more in taxes. When I saw the result, the exit poll, I was like, oh my God, this is just going to make things worse. At least if there had been a hung parliament, it would have kept Boris Johnson in check. But now there's nothing to keep him in check. I really hope that things can improve, but I'm not enthusiastic about it. I'm not very optimistic about it. But there is I think there should always be an opportunity, and this is the opportunity for ordinary British people to mobilise, to stand up, to put pressure on their MPs, to put pressure on the government. They don't rely on the politicians. The politicians, the Labour Party, Liberal Democrats, to a lesser extent the SNP because they're in Scotland, but I'm talking about in Westminster. Put pressure on your MPs to and really the Conservative MPs. Put pressure on them. Tell them that we're going to vote you out next time, because politicians think about their pocket, and if they feel that they're going to be voted out, they go, okay, this is a handy number for me. I go to Parliament 3 times a week or whatever. I have a good cushy number, a good job, good pay, good benefits. I don't want this to end, and there's a risk I will lose this because these people are banging on my door every day of the week. So they don't want to lose that. So they will hopefully put pressure on Boris Johnson to change course. I'm not talking about stopping Brexit, but at least protecting the NHS, protecting people's jobs, reforming universal credit, things like this. Because that's the least they can do. The least they can do is help ordinary people. They'll get their Brexit. That's nothing is going to really stop that. The only people who can stop Brexit at the moment is Boris Johnson and the Tories, and they're not going to do that. Have you met the average Brit? I've interacted with a lot of people, a lot of British. I've been to the UK a number of times. My wife, she has a cousin working in Italy, in London. Sorry, he's an Italian living and working in London. He has a family in London. We're in communication quite often. My own brother used to live in London. I'm Irish, so a lot of Irish people went to London to work and to live there. So I do have contact with people, and I have contact with British people here in Italy. Because I feel like we're a community, and when I say European Union, I don't think of it as some sort of external entity. It's something that we're all involved in, And I think it's something that should be protected. It's not perfect. It should be reformed in some ways, but its positives are more than its negatives. Hey Max, why exactly Robespierre as a nickname? So I talked about this before in a video. So because it's in the chat here, I'm not going to do another video about it, but I'll explain it here. It's not very complicated. So when I was in high school, I remember reading about Robespierre, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is terrible. He beheaded thousands of people. He beheaded the king with the guillotine. How could somebody do this? And then I started to read a little bit more into him and understood that he was a revolutionary. He wanted to, end the corrupting influence of the monarchy. Something I admired about this idea, now not him per se, but about the idea of corruption. And I see corruption as the core problem in our society, about money. If you look at Brexit, why is Brexit taking place? Because it's going to make a certain amount of money for some small group of people. Why do Republican politicians vote in a particular way? Why do Democratic politicians vote in a certain way in the US? Because of money, the corrupting influence of money. So for me, corruption is one of the biggest problems we have in this country, in the world, in Europe, wherever. And if we can eliminate corruption or reduce it by giving more power back to people, then it's going to improve our societies. I think corruption is a huge problem. There's always going to be a certain level of corruption. So the idea of Robespierre had this idea of eliminating corruption. He believed that he was incorruptible, that he had this pure idea of zero corruption, and he was willing to go to whatever lengths he believed were necessary to maintain that revolution, the corruption defeating revolution in a sense. So I admired that. Now, not the means, okay, I'm not talking about chopping off people's heads, but I know it's a strange character to admire, but it's not. I don't admire himself. I admire this aspect of him, the idea of being so focused on ending something that you find horrible and destructive in your community or in your country, that you're willing to go to any lengths to do it. I'm not willing to go to any lengths, but in a sense I admire that. Now I don't know if that's clear in my description or not. I understand that he was a tyrant, but there is a sort of irony, of course, that he was also beheaded at the end. So it sort of went full circle. Is the perennial problem on the left that if it's prone to splitting for reasons of ideological purity, the right split too, but seem to keep a lead on things if it matters? A pity. Who was it before was talking about Monty Python, in Life of Brian, the People's Front of Judea and the Judean People's Front. I think this is a huge problem on the left. Those people are not as pure as we are, so we're going to split from them. And I hope that the Labour Party don't split in the future. I think maybe after Brexit, probably it's not going to be the case. But if Brexit had gone on for a bit longer, there could have been a split in the Labour Party between the people who wanted to go with Remain and those who wanted to leave. Max's real name is Paddy O'Brien. Just chose Max as a bit out. You found me out. My name is Paddy. Hi QA Library, welcome back. Oh, okay, I've been on the stream for 2 hours, 10 minutes, so it's almost 2 a.m. here, so I need to head off to sleep soon. So I hate going off the chat, off the stream, because I love talking to you guys. I think it's a fantastic means. So any more questions? Russians are pretty good with corrupting European and UK politicians. Yes, they are. But in Russia there is a serious amount of money in the hands of a very small number of people. Okay. If Rebecca Long Bailey becomes leader, do we wage civil war within the Labour Party? That thing I sent you, does it need any more work? QA Library, I just had a quick look at it. I think it's okay. If it needs any more work, I'll send you a message. But I just had a quick look at it, so I didn't read it in detail. But I think it's okay. It doesn't need anything extra. Will there be a civil war in the Labour Party? There could be, because a lot of people will be pointing to the fact that Jeremy Corbyn lost. Glasgow Kiss, are you heading out? It's been a pleasure, as always. Thank you. My pleasure. Great to see you on the chat. I hope to see you on the next one. Okay, Mark Franks, thanks very much for the messages. Thanks for being on the chat. Sleep well, you too. Yes. Rebecca Longbill, will there be a civil war? I think so, because, as I said, many people will say Jeremy Corbyn lost the election. Why are we choosing somebody who's off the same wing as he is? And how is the party moving on if it's staying in the same, going in the same direction? So I think it depends on how big the moderate wing of the Labour Party is. If it's not very big, then I think she'll be a shoo-in. But if they are a big part of the party, then she may have problems. Happy McNugget, good night. Have a nice rest. Lexiters were such a tiny minority in the Labour Party. I'm not convinced Brexit was that much of a dividing wedge within Labour. Opposition to it was nearly. Yeah, I agree with Sarah Jessica Farter. It was not a big issue in the Labour Party. In some areas, it was, an important issue, but I think in general for the whole party, it wasn't. And there was, I think, this attempt to pacify leavers within the party didn't help Jeremy Corbyn either. It wasn't something that really brought him down, but I think it didn't help him. Let me see. Okay, so we have the Finnish PM. Is that better? William Ellis, sleep well, Max. Pleasure, my pleasure to have you on the chat. Max, it was a pleasure. DK Mail, see you again soon. Have a nice Christmas, you too. Jeremy Corbyn has a majority of 125,000 in the Labour Party. 220,000 new members since general election, mostly not supportive of Jeremy. we still got the majority. But the candidates will split that vote. This is going to be a very interesting time for us. We Scots Dog. Enjoy your Christmas night sláinte. You too. Have a nice Christmas. And wrap up warm, because I imagine it's quite cold up there in Scotland. So Lazarus, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting. Do you think Keir Starmer has a chance of winning, or do you think it's if it's out of reach? Do you think it's pretty much sewn up at the moment for Long Bailey? 22,000, okay. The rest of the party won't unite behind one candidate. I think there's also maybe, I don't know if this is a real issue or not, but maybe people will accept a candidate with the idea that maybe that candidate won't be there all the time. So in the sense that, okay, let's try with Bailey, and then we'll see after 6 months if she's still quite good, we'll keep her. And then if she's not, then maybe we have another election for another leader. There could be, I don't know if that's a possibility. If you look at, the Labour Party went through a few leaders before they got to Corbyn. It doesn't matter how much support you've got, especially Corbyn in your party. If people outside your party do not vote for you, you are not going to win. Is one thing is having power in the party, another thing is having power with the electorate. RBL is already being dismissed by centrists because she's close to Corbyn. So Nathan, yeah, that depends on how much. I think are they going to have debates between the different candidates? Is it going to be like an American-style primary, or is it going to be just something internal within the party? It'd be nice if they had something. Maybe it's not very good for the party, but it'd be nice to see a debate between the different candidates, maybe on TV or something, just for entertainment purposes, not for real political purposes. Then the tabloids would hesitate to attack her given the working class are their readers. Sorry. I think AOC would do really well because many identify with her working class background. Yeah, I think AOC, if they could emulate someone like AOC, but Long Bailey is no AOC. It's not sewn up. The centrists have split the vote. They have quite a few candidates. The left has one. They had debates last time, like a primary on TV. Yeah, I think for entertainment it's good. Maybe it's not good for the party. And maybe it's, I don't know if it's real. Is it real or is it just fake, really? Because the party will decide at the end of the day who is the candidate. Okay, I'm just going to say, guys, I'm going to stay on the live stream for maybe another 10 minutes and then I'll have to shut up shop. Issues if they move from RBL to the centre and they're having endless leadership elections, they'll confuse the public. Yeah, it would be best to choose one leader and go. I think there could be some merit in having just one leader and going with that leader all the time, or at least changing maybe once, but not every year changing a leader. That wouldn't be good for the party, and it would just show them as being confused. I know AOC. I served with AOC. AOC is a friend of yours. The members decide. The Labour leadership uses STV voting. Near impossible to have a splitting vote problem. Becky is no AOC for sure. The way OC was smeared by the right here is the closest thing to how Corbyn was treated. The media strategy against Sanders is to ignore him, not attack him. Nathan, I agree 100%. I see how the media, like Bernie Sanders was number 2 after Joe Biden, and the media were talking about Pete Buttigieg in a strong fourth. Like they don't talk about Bernie Sanders, but I have a feeling that if Bernie wins the nomination, I think it's more difficult for him to win the nomination than to win against Trump, because I actually feel that if he continues in the direction he's continuing, if he uses the same style, if he focuses on issues but also attacks and uses his personality. Dream Dancer, thanks for the chat. Good night. Have a good evening. Good and a Merry Christmas. If he continues in the same way, the problem will not be Donald Trump. The problem will be the primary. And I don't know, Super Tuesday is looking quite good for Bernie. Like California could be in the bag for him. I think Iowa, or maybe it's New Hampshire, is trending towards him as well. Sanders is being called an anti-Semite now. Is there anything they're like looking? The people are, yeah, the man is Jewish. It's like they are looking for, okay, what can we stick? What can we throw at Bernie Sanders? Okay, does he have offshore bank accounts? No. Has he paid off a porn star or something? No. Has he done this? No. Okay, then we need something. Let's call him an anti-Semite. Yes, but he lost his family in the Holocaust. Okay, but let's still call him an anti-Semite. These people are just, the media are just disgusting. And I think he should use the media more. He should pick a fight with, a billionaire or something, and then he'll get the media attention. The same way Trump used the media because the media were constantly reporting on what he was saying. He would respond to pointless, trivial things, and they would give him free. Jeremy Gaw, good night. Have a nice Christmas. Have a nice evening, or night, wherever you are. I think for I was going to say Jeremy Corbyn. I was going to say no, not Jeremy Corbyn, but Bernie Sanders. I think he should use the media in the same way Trump used it. Pick a fight with a famous person. Pick a fight with a politician. Pick a fight with a billionaire, even better. Go protest outside Jeff Bezos' house or one of his villas, and it's disgusting the tactics they use, yeah. And use that. Get his face in the paper. Get interviewed. Say something controversial. It's not going to harm you because you're going to get on TV, and then you can use that to promote your message. So when they ask you, but why did you say this? Oh, well, I said this because we need to reduce the taxes on the working class and increase the taxes on the 1%, like something like that. Just knock away the accusation and then focus on the message that you want people to hear. Labour should have a Saturday night talent contest on ITV and decide who is the leader that way. It could be like Gladiators. Do you remember Gladiators back in the 1990s? Max, I'll say it to the end, but saying good night. Okay, Sam Priest, sorry, rhetoric. Maybe another 5 minutes, and then I'll shut up. With that accent, Max. Besides, she's just wearing her socialism unashamedly. Roy Zimmerman's song Socialist is very amusing. I must check it out also. Do you guys know Cenk Uygur? He is currently the host of the Young Turks YouTube channel show. But he's running as a congressman. He's running for Congress in California. I was wondering if any of you American guys, if you know him and if you think he has a chance of winning in California. Because he's been smeared a lot about comments he made in the past, in the 20 years ago or something like that, about women and about dating and stuff like that. Yeah, TYT. So Cenk is running for a seat in Congress, but I don't know does he really have a chance. Labour did hold their own music festival. Did you see? Really advertised it, and it was like 50 people came. What were they going? What type of music were they playing at? Angeline, so you're a TYT member. So what's your opinion on this? Do you think that Cenk has a chance of winning in California? Because it's very hard for me to know from here, because the only information I receive about Cenk is from Cenk and from Secular Talk, Kyle Kalinske, and they're saying yes, he's good, he has a chance. I don't know, does he really actually have a chance? Because I think he could really ruffle some feathers there, rattle some cages. Cenk is running. That one passed me by. I'm actually really surprised. He's been accused of being misogynist, which is just ridiculous. Yes, he used to be a Republican. He made some comments, but that was 20 years ago when he was 20 years old or something like that. And I made ridiculous comments when I was 20 years old. And also the time, I'm not justifying these things, but if somebody said something stupid and then they said, look, I'm sorry that I said that, isn't that better than saying it and pretending, no, I didn't say it, or no, that's just lies, or that's taking it out of context or whatever? Even if it was taken out of context, he apologized for these things. Just banned singing about socialism. Did they charge people to attend? That would have been interesting. We're going to fight the system, but you have to pay. You have to buy your tickets through Ticketmaster and pay a 50% markup. I remember I wanted to go to the arena here in Italy. There was an arena. It's the one in Verona. It's a very famous arena, and it was to see. It was a composer, and the tickets were 300 euros. 300 euros for the ticket. I was like, okay, we're not doing that. But then it was an extra, I think, 150 euros for the booking fee. And you had to use Ticketmaster or something like that. I was like, what the hell? No, I'm not doing that. To hell with that. It's ridiculous. It's just a scam. It was, I don't remember who it was. It was a music composer. He's running in a suburban purplish seat against George. Okay, Steve Knight and the former Republican. But does he have a hope? I know purple seat I don't think really means a lot, but maybe the names he's going up against will be a problem for him. Carl Benjamin should just have been a Tory candidate. He probably could have done a bit better if Sargon would have done better if he'd just run as a Tory. That would have been horrible to see, though. Can you imagine seeing Sargon of Akkad in Parliament? Imagine, whatever influence he has, it's restricted to, the online sphere. Can you imagine him as an MP having a choice over people's lives? I attended my first and only concert ever. Celine Dion, sat in the front row. $350. Ouch. Was it worth it? Okay, that's good. £500 to go and see Tom Waits didn't have the money. No, I remember. I hope I'm not boring you guys, but I'll just tell you a very funny story. It was back in 2005. I was living in Dublin, and there was U2, Bono, U2 were in Dublin for a tour, and my wife is a huge fan, and she said, I want to see them. So I went to see if I could buy tickets. So I went online. It was the same day. They had sold out in 15 seconds or something like that. So I couldn't buy a ticket. So we went to the stadium and said, look, maybe they might have some extra tickets. Stupid as we are, we thought they might actually have some extra tickets. So we went to the stadium, full of people. The city was in complete chaos. We couldn't find anyone. There were some people willing to sell a ticket. There was one guy we found who was willing to sell a ticket. He brought us into a bookmaker's, and he said, okay, I'll sell you a ticket. One ticket for €500. This was in 2005. €500 for one ticket. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So we decided, look, let's just wander around. We might find someone who's willing to sell it for a bit less. And eventually what we did was, at about 9 o'clock, they were due to start, and they didn't start. They were a bit late. But at about 9 o'clock, all the security had been, relaxed. And I said to my wife, let's just try and pass. If we get to the end, we don't have a ticket, and they'll just send us back. So we went through the first level of security. The security guards ignored us. I was like, oh my God, we've got past the first one. Let's try the next one. There was another gate. We went past that gate. And I was like, okay, we got past. Nobody checked us. Then we got into the stadium grounds. And I was like, oh my God, okay, now what can we do? And I said to my wife, look, just say that you forgot your ticket was stolen. You had put our tickets in your handbag, and your handbag was stolen in the stadium. So I called over a security guard, and I said, look, I'm really sorry. And I explained, look, we were here, we were a bit late, but we were waiting for someone, and my wife's handbag was stolen, and our tickets were in the handbag, and now we can't get in. And the guy said, look, you can't really do this, it's your problem. I said, please, can you help us in any way? I'm sorry, this is terrible. But he said, okay, wait a minute. He went away. He returned with 2 tickets, and we got in to see U2 for free. I feel terrible saying this, but it was true. I don't know if you actually heard me say that. So tell me about some horrible thing that you did that was immoral. Together all minorities, 14%, 10% sexy. Well, it was U2. Brilliant. It was extremely immoral, but at the end of the day, I think we would have. I think anyone would have done the same thing. Guys, I'm just going to end the stream now, but I just want to ask you each one of you a question. Can you write in the chat where you're from? Like, what country are you from? So, as someone who has always disliked Sargon, I think he once had some genuine principles, but now he's a total grifter. Yeah, I used to think he was edgy, but you're going to burn for that admission. Yeah, I think he used to be edgy and funny, and he did that This Week in Stupid, was sort of attacking, low-hanging fruit. But after that, when he went, all in the alt-right and Donald Trump stuff, then I was like, okay, this is just annoying. So, told you earlier, Canada, okay, thank you very much, Nippon. Scotland, England, Scotland. Ah, Sarah Jessica Farr, I didn't know you were from Scotland. For some reason, I thought you were from another place. Norway, England, Portsmouth, of course. United States, Scotland, but I live in England. Sorry, join this. No problem. I should be home. I'm hoping to have another stream just maybe before New Year. So maybe on the 27th or 28th, depending on the evening. England, mixed race. Scotland, sorry, Poland. I study full time in Poland, but 100% English. Liverpool, UK, Lancashire. At home in Norwich, Norway, but I live in London. England, black. England, Germany, Ireland. Bowler Hat Man, I love Bowler Hat Man as well, yes. I don't understand why he doesn't have so many, like, more subscribers. Maybe, like, I actually sent him a message saying, would you like to do a live stream sometime? But I haven't heard back from him. So, Scotland, of course. Pets are us. Luton. Manchester. Okay, guys. So I'll have to end the stream here now. So thank you very much for your super chats. Thanks for your chats. Thanks for your messages. Thanks for your kind words. And thanks for listening to my ranting and raving. So have a very nice evening, very good night, or whatever you're doing later. And have a wonderful Christmas. And if I don't see you, have a happy New Year also. So good night and get some good night's sleep, and don't stay up all night, okay, on the internet. All right, cool guys. See you next time, and